Oh, look. I got rich clients, and these were these were a birthday gift, as was
Nice.
my as was my couch and my 55
Oh.
inch TV that's on my wall.
Ooh.
I got
Nice.
clients. I got clients. They're like buying
Bruh.
me things.
Giving you
Anyway,
things. Gifts. Makana.
yes, yeah, whatever that is.
That's Hawaiian for present.
Oh, really, Makana,
Yes.
Makana,
Makana.
like
Makana.
McConaughey. All right,
Yes, he's a gift to us
McConaughey.
all. Hey, oh,
That was bad. Look,
that was
I'm not
bad.
a
But it
comedian.
reminds me of one of my jokes at work. So,
Please, would you like to share that joke?
oh, I will share that joke. So, the Hawaiian word for bamboo. Bamboo is one of the canoe plants, and plants that were brought to these islands on the canoes by the first two groups of people that first came to these islands. And they brought resources such as plants and animals. And one of the plants they brought was bamboo, or the Hawaiian name, ohe. And the way you remember that is when you see bamboo, you go, oh, hey. There you go. So that's
Alan,
how that works. You froze up a little bit.
you froze up.
I froze up. You
One of
froze up.
us. It said,
We
okay.
froze up together.
Tell the joke again. I'm so sorry.
I gotta
Because
tell the joke
I
again.
was I just heard bamboo, and then you went,
Oh, bamboo, and then I froze.
yeah.
So I will tell the joke again.
I'll
Bamboo is
cut
one
it
of
at
the
the end.
30 what's called canoe plants that were brought to
Okay.
these islands by the first two groups of people that came here. Okay, to these islands and made the Hawaiian people, and they brought resources such as plants and animals. And one of those plants was bamboo, and the Hawaiian word is ohe. So when you see bamboo, you go, oh, hey. That's how you remember that.
And now we know. I like
And now
that.
you know. Yeah, see?
So now
There
when
you
one of
go.
my friends has a
Works.
bamboo plant, I just be like, oh, hey. And they're like,
Exactly. And they'll go, what the heck are you talking about? And you'll know. But you'll know.
right,
They can drop
right.
some wisdom on them.
I like to drop knowledge on people. They enjoy that nowadays.
That's right. Your
Um,
mana'o, your knowledge.
yeah, I got to come to Hawaii, man, because
You really do.
first up.
You
Oh, look,
really do.
I know. Now that we have it, now it's on record, literally recorded. I do need to come
Exactly.
out there. I yeah, I'll figure that out for
You'll
sure.
figure that out.
I got a
One
bunch
day.
of airline miles now. Yeah,
Nice.
so well they accumulated during the Rona. Um, okay, so it's so cliche to start this way, but
It is.
when I was working on this book, and I
Mhm.
moved into writing about, so obviously this book focuses on music and not just my life, in general. So when I went to ISU, I had to ask, how did you and I meet? Because I kind of remember, and if you remember, I mean, I have some vague
Vague
idea.
memories.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
well, to be honest with you, I don't know the exact day and time and moment.
that's
I just
fine. Yeah,
remember a vague recollection of seeing you around. And then I was doing theater, and you've been doing music since you were, day one. Where you popped out the womb, you was, singing and dancing and producing and playing piano and all that stuff, playing guitar.
exactly.
So I believe, I want to say, and I don't know why, if this is true or not, but that crazy guy, Jason Hathaway, I think maybe possibly I
Oh
learned about you, who
yeah.
you were through him. And and I only knew him because he was in the music scene trying to do his blues music and stuff. And then for some reason, I remember us living together, but I don't remember before that. All the stuff of
Okay,
us getting to know
okay,
each other and stuff. I don't remember much about that at all.
okay. No, that's actually fine because
Yeah.
I had a hard time remembering it as well. But you kind of jogged my memory there with Jason Hathaway because
Mm,
he was definitely a networker, and he was
hmm
connecting people. And what I thought it was, I mean, were you playing in a band with
I
Tony
was.
before? I came along.
No, I think. Well, we were talking about it. We were discussing it.
Okay.
But you know what's funny is I thought I met you before I met Tony, but that's
I don't think you
opposite.
did. Yeah.
No, now I'm remembering I met Tony because he worked in the cafeteria where
Oh,
we
that's
went.
right.
I went
Yes.
and I was playing in a band, and for some, I don't know why it happened, how it happened, but I think I took my bass into the cafeteria, was playing, and Ken, if you remember, Ken Furr was playing
Of course, I
drums.
remember Ken Fur. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken and Bertram, my boy Jeremy Bertram, were playing.
Yep.
We were making beats on the table, and I was playing bass, and he came out and was watching us and going, "What the hell?" And so that's, I believe, started talking to him. We started talking about music, what kind of music we liked, specifically, the different hip hop bands that we were listening to. Because I think we started doing, if I'm not mistaken, I think we started playing "It's Tricky" and rapping "It's Tricky," the Run DMC song, at the
Mm-hmm.
table. I remember this specifically because at one point I was standing on the tables and we almost got kicked out of the cafeteria because of that. So,
Sounds about right.
yeah, and I might have briefly worked there too. I can't remember, but I seem to have a vague. I probably did, but I got fired, got booted out of so many jobs back in the day,
Yeah.
because
You worked in the
I was just
cafeteria?
foolish. I think I worked in the cafeteria for a week, maybe.
Wow.
I have
I can see
maybe,
that.
and I think I met Tony through that. I remember the first time I really talked to him was when I was playing in the cafeteria, standing up on the table, and then I think I was working there for a while, and then when did you meet him? It was because I
That
can't.
well, actually I think I know what it was. I think
Yeah.
it was at I think it was at the coffee grounds.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
we all ran into
That
each
makes
other
sense.
there because I think
Yes.
you guys had kind of started the band because that was like my freshman year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because after my freshman year, I was living, I stayed in Terre Haute. Pat was
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
roommate.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back now, you would think to your, grown self, why the hell would I stay in Terre Haute? But anyway,
Oh, I asked myself all that all the time while we was there. Why the hell we in Terre
when
Haute?
when you're young and poor, this is where you
That's the
go
place to be.
or stay.
Yep.
So it's because I was hanging out with Tony like that first summer. So I think you guys had
Mm-hmm.
already kind of started the band, and I think it was like this our sophomore year because I think it was our
Oh my God.
sophomore
Yeah.
year that you and I became roommates
I
because
Was it sophomore year?
I
I
think
think
so
you're right.
because I
I think you're
because
right.
I think we had started I kind of joined the band playing I dabbled in guitar.
You dabbled.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, but I remember doing that. We kind of started that because, yeah, you did become my roommate sophomore year. I do
Sophomore
remember
year.
that
That is
because
God. That's right.
I think so because remember Pete was my roommate my freshman
Mm-hmm.
year, and he moved back to Paris. And then remember they gave me then they gave me a choice, right? They let me pick a roommate so for some reason, and I picked you.
Yeah. I do remember that now.
Because I was like, Alan's insane. I like him to be my
Yes.
roommate. No, I'm kidding.
I will be
What?
insane. Um, I will do that. Oh, that's right. I remember that now. But
I
where
actually remember
was
you
that?
moving in. What?
Yeah. Was that this? Was it a studio? That space that Tony had? Was that a studio? Was that before we moved in together, or did that happen after?
The studio, like on Alpha Wabash?
Oh my God, you remember street names. I'm proud of you. I don't remember street names at all. Yeah, it was a studio that we'd go into, and there was a couple different rooms.
Oh, we're
Am
gonna
I
get into
thinking
that. Hang on.
correctly?
You are, but
Okay.
you're way down the road because
I'm jumping
so
down.
you're really jumping. So
Jumping.
because here's the thing. So sophomore year, you became my roommate, and that's when we
Uh-huh.
kind of had the band going. That's when we
Yes.
were. Everything's gonna make sense to you from this point on
Okay.
because you moved in and my life changed in many ways.
Yes.
Uh, you said we need to watch CB4. So I was like,
Oh
okay,
God, that's
looking
right.
forward to see. Then, if you'll remember, we were working on this first like tape or whatever,
Yes,
and
the
we were
first album,
inspired. Money taken from a pig,
Money Taken from a Pig.
and I was like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yes, yes.
So,
Oh my God, that's
so
right.
we,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
So this
okay.
is how it began. So this is we were going to rehearsals, we were playing shows. I remember that. Um, I mean, maybe we're wrong on the year, but I do believe it was sophomore year because I know Pete wasn't there. Or you know what?
Was that
Actually,
97? Is that
it
97,
might have been
98,
90. Maybe so. Maybe 96.
or 96? I think in 96.
I
Let's see when
yeah.
CB4 came out. I think CB4 came out in 95. So it might have been 95, 96.
Okay, whatever it was.
Oh my
It's the
God.
mid 90s. So
This is
um
100 years ago.
yes, exactly. So I will say this. So you introduced me to a lot of music that I was not aware of yet, even though I was aware of a lot of music. Do you remember what
Mm-hmm.
you were listening to back in the ISU days? Because that's all I would ever hear coming out of your room. Not a bad way. I mean, I'll
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
throw some names. I'll throw some names out there if you.
Throw some names.
Well, I mean, okay, definitely a lot of Al Green.
Al Green for sure. I
There's a
was the
lot of
biggest Al Green. That time right there, I was not reintroduced, but I think I fell back in love with Al Green, and then he was producing stuff and newer stuff, and that was because previously, sorry, I'm going to go on a pilgrimage. So we
no,
went on a
please.
pilgrimage. Me and my old school friends. Before I went to ISU, we went on a pilgrimage to go to Al Green's church in Tennessee, and we did, and we got to see him preach one time. And we
Really?
slept in our car. Oh yeah, we slept in our car outside. Well, it was a little down the road from the church because it was a pilgrimage because we were super huge Al Green fans. And that was I think my second or third resurgence of Al Green because my ultimate goal always and still today is to start a band called the Children of Al Green. That's what I ultimately want to do one day.
You
I
could
mean,
do that.
I got a
Yeah,
little bit of time, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But
you
that's
could
what
do
I
that.
ultimately wanted to do. In fact, I think when I was talking to Tony, I said I always wanted to have a band called the Children of Al Green, but we weren't going to do, Oh, sorry, I'm going off on another tangent. I remember the
Go,
thing.
please.
And the coffee grounds. I forgot the name of that place. I knew it was a coffee place, but I forgot the name of it because I used to do
Yeah.
that the slam poetry stuff before it was cool.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
before it was cool. And my opus was I wrote this one day while taking a shit. That was the name of it. And that was my opus poem.
Yes.
And yes, I would always perform it, and everybody would lose their minds because they thought it was brilliant, which it was. I'm not gonna
It was brilliant. It
lie,
was.
it was brilliant. So we were sitting there, and I don't remember if you remember Stimpy, big dude,
Hell yeah.
played
Yeah.
bass. He actually teaches music
In
still.
Holy Roman Empire.
That's yes. So
Yeah.
Eric, who was the singer of Holy Roman Empire, and
Yeah.
me, and I think Tony, Bertram, Ken, all of us were sitting around talking about band names. And Eric said, "Well, I want to start a band called the Holy Roman Empire." And I went, "Oh, that's good. That's good." So we were having battle of names, and I said, "Well, the Children of Al Green is still a better name." And he goes, "No, no, Holy." So we had this battle back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
But they actually were pseudo successful, the Holy Roman Empire.
They were good.
And I did a couple. Yeah, I did a couple shows with them. I played bass when Stimpy couldn't, and then I played guitar, believe it or not.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
I remember
Eric
that.
would do these spoken word things during the, he wasn't really singing; he was just doing spoken word. So I would do improv freestyles with him when I did a couple shows with them, which was a lot of fun. And then, then I thought, okay, I want to do the Children of Al Green, but we obviously went into a new direction with a more hip hop angle. So sorry, that was a big tangent, but
No, that was
it was
because
flooding back, flooding back.
no, that was beautiful because there was some of that I was like, oh yeah, like it kind of reminds me of things.
Yeah.
I have to ask if you remember because it's gonna drive me nuts. And maybe somebody's watching this later will comment if we don't remember. Do you remember who the there was a blues guitarist that always came to the coffee grounds, and we always
Charlie,
Charlie.
Charlie
Yes,
something. Was it
Oh
Charlie
yeah.
Edmonds? Charlie Edmond?
Yes, I think it's Charlie Edmonds. I
I think
think
it's
or
Charlie
Edmonds.
Edmonds.
Either
Something like
way,
that.
that
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, talk
Yeah.
about
Love
he's
that
like
guy.
the king of double
Old school.
entendre.
Oh yes, everything
Like I don't
was
think he's not singing about a
no.
candy cane, boys.
Oh no.
So
Yeah. I remember. I love Charlie. Man. He was fantastic.
so yeah, I remember we made that first tape. I remember that we made a second one, which I think we made that commercialized tape, which
Was that
I think
commercialized? I thought that was American Heroin or something like that.
that was the third album.
That was the third album.
We
Oh
had
my
the
god.
third album. We had many albums. So
Where's
for the
all this
commercial,
music? I have no idea where all of it is.
well,
I have
somebody
no
has it
idea where it
actually.
is.
I think Pat has some of it.
What?
But here's the thing.
I need to hear it.
I know so I think this is gonna be the most bouncing around
Oh yeah, definitely.
conversation that's gonna be posted. So there may not be able this may not be able to be edited. So freeform. It's like freeform jazz. So
That's right.
a couple of interesting tidbits and tangents to go on this. When we were roommates, the first thing that was hilarious was many hilarious things, but the clown
Really
hate
hilarious
thing,
things.
the clown
Oh
hate thing was too good. This is when I started telling people my fear of clowns, and
yes.
it became this dumbass skit of me
Oh
freestyling, just rambling like when a circus comes to your town, fuck them clowns. Like, what am I
yeah,
doing?
yeah.
Like, I started thinking about that when I was working on this book. Like, we were madmen. We were insane.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we
oh,
were free flowing, and anything that came to our mind, we just went for it. You know,
I
there
think
was no
that's what it
filter
was.
at all. It was just go, 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 and yeah, that was part of that.
It's like lay it down,
The
see how
clown
it's.
hate.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just go. Yeah,
very
yeah.
organic. I remember, by the way, just because we did really go up on a tangent, I'm gonna say two more names
Oh
musically
God.
that I had never
Oh,
listened to. Earth Crisis
Earth Crisis, baby. Earth
and
Crisis, straight edge hardcore.
a-
Come on now.
and and Jay Mascis,
Jay
bruh.
Mascis. That's
You know how many times you played air guitar to that
oh.
song with the door open? By the way, you
Half the
you
time naked, half the time not.
you had that chair in your room that went up to
Yep.
like almost your neck, and every time you'd
Yep.
be talking to me, you'd take your pants off and just stand like, okay, like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
okay, all the time, all the time. There was the popcorn incident
Oh,
where we went nuts and you threw popcorn in the courtyard. From I had a
that was
popcorn tin.
it was popcorn tin. And
Hmm.
that was only the first one because then we had the cake, the great cake, cake
Oh, the
war.
great cake incident. You
Yeah,
threw
the great
cake in
cake
the
incident.
courtyard.
Cake all
Yeah,
through the
wasn't that
courtyard, just having
wasn't it
fun.
one of
And
those
hey,
nights you
we need
went?
to throw cake.
Well, it was one night you went
Throwing
nuts and you
nuts.
couldn't stop laughing, and I had to like, I started to worry about you, like legitimately, and I was like, I think something's wrong.
Yeah,
Those
there
were
could have
good
been. I might
times.
have had yeah, I might have had a major issue. Whatever issue can come from laughing until you almost pass out, but
Oh
definitely,
yeah, you were
definitely
there.
hysteric. Yeah.
Well, I just remember when you. And there was one night. I know people are gonna be like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Trust us, this is college. It just had to make sense. But then there was the one night where somebody was coming over, and you said, "I'm gonna open the door. Just throw this water bottle at him." And I was like, "What?" And that's all we did. Is you open the door. I went, It's just such a random.
That's such a random thing.
It really was. There were a lot
And
of
then for a
those.
while, I remember for a while you would because I think you tossed something and it didn't even go, a few inches. It just hit the ground and you just went. And for
Uh,
for a couple months afterwards, you every now and then you just roll in real fast and then you go.
yeah. I'd teach you a lesson. So
Oh, that was so good.
just because this is where my consciousness is flowing, and people will be like, "Wait, is this about music?" Yeah, it is.
It
This is
is. It is.
the raving
Music inspires
lunatics.
all of this behavior.
Yeah, so here, yeah, exactly. So I will say this though, musically, you did kind of influence me in ways because of you. Like most of my upbringing, I was brought up around a lot of different music, but you
Mm,
did introduce me to a lot of music that I never would have heard. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, Otherwise. So, and even in your theater stuff, that I went to some of the performances you did. I still hate musicals, which is fine, but
Which is I do
theater
too,
is
so it's all
okay.
right.
Musicals are nuts. I've
They're
been to
terrible.
like three or four, but only because one of my clients was in a couple of
Yeah.
musicals, and she's a pro, so I went to
Mm,
go see those. Um, but yeah, so one I have to bring this up because this is creepy
yeah.
to me. And this is kind of music related and it's not. We'll get back to the music in a minute. But
Okay.
if you remember, there was one night that I uh, brought up going to brunch the next day. It
Yes.
was like a Friday night. And you go, "What time do you want to go to brunch?" I said, "Let's go now." And you said, "What?" I go, "Let's go now." You're like, "Brunch is tomorrow morning." I go, "But that doesn't exist yet." And it doesn't. And when it does, it'll be now.
It'll be
You
now.
remember that? So
Oh
I
yeah.
kept saying it. I was like, "Oh no, it'll be now." So when that time comes, it'll be now, and so we'll go now. But that's
So we'll
not
go now.
now.
That's not
So
now.
I kept saying that. Here's where it gets scary. So
Yes.
about maybe 10 years ago, maybe
Mm-hmm.
more. I've been into. I got into philosophy books like maybe 2005, 2006, and
Yeah.
reading a lot about Buddhism, things like that. I started reading Deepak Chopra. I started reading Eckhart Tolle. Now, here's where it
Mm-hmm.
gets scary. Eckhart Tolle
Mm.
has a book called The Power of Now.
The power of now, where
And
it's
I listened to
always
that
only
book.
now.
So, you understand how that frightened me? That over 10 years earlier, I was making this argument for, oh, it's always now.
Always
It
now.
can't be anything but now. It can't be tomorrow, because that'll be
Yeah.
now.
Exactly. But
Anyway,
it's creepy, but it's always, and the thing that I'm not gonna, but I think the reason we were drawn together, and it was first through
please.
musically, through musical or music and not musicals, obviously, because we both hate them, but
Yes.
actual music is because we've always kind of, you know how they say that Tony Stark, Iron Man is a futurist. He sees things in the future. So we're seeing how what's affecting the world now, is what's going to affect it more so in the future, where it'll be now again. But I think what draws us together is our both. We don't pigeonhole ourselves. We've never pigeonholed ourselves.
Right.
The reason we've never claimed any, specific political party or religious thing or anything like that,
Right.
because that puts blinders on where we can't see. We only see things through that point of view, that lens, and we've always seen everything through every point of view and every lens. Um, and that's just kind of the way we've always been. We might not have been exposed to certain things, but you have to make a conscious effort to expose yourself, which I did that a lot in that room specifically.
You did.
But not, I mean, exposing yourself to opening up to hear all these different musical forms, to read all these different things, instead of what's just presented in one ideology and one, the horse blinder analogy that I like to use.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we connected so well, because we both thought the same way. Even though we had different tastes in certain things, it was still that we're open to everything, and that being open to everything in the surrounding us and being aware. One of the things that I really love about where I am now is the concept of kilo, which is to observe, but not just to observe to look around, but to observe how the world works together, how every aspect of everything works together. And I think we've always, and you for sure have always done that. That's why I think you're so fearless, is because you know how things work together, because you observe it, not only just looking at something, but really observing with your whole being and essence of how things work together to be able to safeguard how you fit into it and what you're going to do with it, which I think has been something I've always been, a very, I don't want to say proud of you, but I'm proud of you because it just connected us together because we thought like that. We thought similarly in our world view. So yeah, that was a long explanation to something, but I think we've always done that. And that's why we are open to all those weird experiences that we did, from throwing cake to having deep conversations and watching each other cry uncontrollably. Talk about music. My great musical, influence with Beethoven, and we watched Immortal Beloved in that movie. And I told you, I'm going to be a puddle on the ground watching this movie. And you were, oh my God. And I was liquefied on the ground, bawling my eyes out because that movie just, it affects me so much because it deals with the power of music. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and it's a beautiful movie. But just to paint the picture for everyone watching or listening, I think the humorous part of this, there's so many moments like this, at least in our friendship, that I remember watching that movie one night, and the way and it's weird because it's kind of the way I do now, is because I don't ever sit on the couch, so I'm always kind of sitting in front of the couch, so I can see you, but and the end comes, and you don't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. I was like, God damn, And the funniest thing was, it was just so quiet, and you just did one little sniff. I was like, oh man, it was so, God dang. So it was, yeah, that was tough. That was tough. But I wanted to do that. Do you remember how many nights or how many afternoons? Because our schedule was, we had classes, we'd come back to the dorm, we'd watch Gargoyles, and either fall asleep or you would kick my ass in NBA shootouts.
NBA, yes.
Always. I tell everyone.
Always.
We're talking about video games. I said my friend Alan always whipped my ass in an NBA shootout. I may have won once or
And
twice.
it's so bad because I'm so terrible at video games now.
What's great is, see, this is where I've always been this way. This is why, once again, why we get along. I play for the enjoyment of the game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I know I'm going to probably get my ass beat. Plus, I can play the cripple card because I'm like, I've never played basketball for real. I don't know how this goes.
Yes,
Am I doing it right? Did I shoot it in the right hole? You can get away with it.
Well, that's another thing is that I am not competitive at all. I really am not a competitive person, and you aren't either. You're very driven, but you're not really competitive to where somebody has to lose. You're always, hey, I'm going to get mine, and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to bust my butt doing it.
Right.
But it's not so that someone else loses. The only way I can win is somebody else loses. So I call that the competitive thing that we don't really have. And so when we played that game, I mean, we spent most of the time just laughing and crying because we were laughing so hard. And that's why it was so much fun because, we were into basketball then, but we rarely watched actual basketball games. We just liked that game, that specific game.
Oh, that's all we did. That's all we did.
Yeah.
It was that Gargoyles and a lot of brunch.
Yeah, a lot of brunch.
But the thing was, like, playing shows, like, whether it was with, I only played with UGS, but with Gray Matter actually, or what?
Yeah.
All those things.
Whatever we called ourselves at the time.
So, but that was like a cool experience for me because, I mean, who knew I would ever get to play in a band? I'm not the greatest guitar player, but I played enough to get by. But it was interesting because I know a lot of people, or at least I'd see some people at the shows kind of sneering or talking shit. And I don't know if you remember, there was one, like, we played a show out the Fountain at ISU one night in the summer, I would guess, or maybe in the fall, I don't know. But there was one like punk skinhead looking dude up in the front. You probably don't remember that night.
I don't know that I remember.
He stood right in front of me and just talked shit the whole time.
Oh
I
my
was
god,
like,
I don't
do you
remember that
have?
at all.
I was like, do you have nothing better to do than to say,
They just stare
you
at
guys,
you.
you fucking suck. Oh, you fucking like, god dang, man. Like, it was hilarious. I was like, but I'm up here and
Wow.
you're down there. Like, what do you know?
Right?
Yeah.
You can talk all the shit you want from on the floor.
And you know how many janky ass ramps we had to like
Oh,
put together to get
we
up
had a
these
concoct.
stairs? I think one was like a folding table or something. Think about
Yeah,
it
oh,
now. It's like
I
a
remember.
fucking
I remember a
disaster.
folding table. We used a folding table, and we were holding it. Two people were holding it at the bottom while you went up it, so it wouldn't slide down, and your ass
Talk
wouldn't
about
tumble. So, yeah.
fearless. Yeah. Oh,
Oh God.
nowadays I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna sit this one out.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys,
not worth it. It's not worth the
you guys,
potential damage might
it's
happen.
not worth it. No. Um, my next topic is Fazoli's. I'm kidding.
Oh, dude.
The
How much
breadsticks.
free food did we get? How much free food did we pilfer from so many restaurants? I mean, it was always
Yeah,
somebody's
there was.
birthday. It was always somebody, I
Yeah, a
mean,
lot of
come on now. Oh
Chi
God,
Chi's.
Chi-Chi's.
What was that
Wow.
Mexican? The mi pueblos.
Mi Pueblos. Oh, Mi Pueblos. That was loved it. Because I think Chi-Chi's had either shut down or we got kicked out and we're allowed back in there, maybe. Because that
Who
happened a lot.
knows? I don't know. Yeah,
But Mi Pueblos had it was the dirtiest place to eat, but man, it was
it's so
delicious.
good.
It was
Yeah.
so good. It was so good. I love that place.
You introduced me to a vegetarian world. I remember I ate
Yes,
vegetarian
that's right.
for like a year, and
Oh
then
God.
I went back and I was like, I don't feel a difference. So I was like, fuck that.
So
Um,
like going anything.
I ate
Yeah,
like
I didn't eat meat until I moved out here to
it's
Hawaii.
probably a lot better for you out there, though. It's probably less
Well, yeah.
processed
Well,
because of
yeah.
your.
I mean, honestly, I work on a cattle ranch, so all the beef
Oh,
that we consume is grass fed.
yeah, hell yes,
No
hell yeah.
antibiotics, no nothing in it. Yeah,
That's
this is
beautiful.
nice. Yeah.
Um, so when okay, here's the interesting thing. And when I was, when I'm recalling these stories and writing in this book, it kind of dawned on me that I mean, it was actually hard to kind of like figure out what was what. But I
Hmm.
remember after I can't. This is the thing I can't remember, and I think it was right before I moved back to Paris, which
Hmm.
sucked. It was like in the winter of 2001.
That's
Um,
after we graduated. Yeah.
well, yes, but there was a semester that I think after I had left Capital T. Remember, we had
Hmm.
started the studio. I
That's that.
produced.
Oh my God. I forgot that was the name of the studio. I forgot that that's
It
what
was
it was called.
yeah. Well, it was like
Oh, I forgot that.
paranormal recordings or something like that,
Paranormal
and
Records or something. Yeah. And
yeah.
then Capital T was the recording studio.
So, but I was working at that studio. It was like Fifth and Wabash. Weird thing is, I was talking to Cayenne a few months ago. He was uh, in Indiana. He went
Hmm.
back there for a relative's wedding, and he went with his cousin to get a haircut, or his cousin was getting a haircut. And
Yeah.
I said, you're off of Wabash. He goes, yeah. I said, well, do you see where the studio was? He goes, hang on a minute. He steps outside and he goes, this barber shop was the studio. He was in the barber shop.
He was in the barbershop.
That was
Oh,
the
that's funny,
studio.
yo. That
So
was
yeah,
it.
we had the off-campus studio, but this is the thing I'm trying to figure out. Is I lived with you again when you were in grad school. You had an off-campus apartment, but it was still campus related. I know
Oh
you got to
God, that's
remember this
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I had no place to go. I think yeah, because I had left Capital T
Yep, yep, yep.
and because there was some shadiness that went
Mm-hmm.
down, and I left, and I didn't want to go home, and
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Want a roommate?" Sure, was highly illegal
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
for us to be roommates because I was not a student. What are the statute of limitations though? If they can
I
come
don't
in
know, but
anyway.
that's when I had that car. That was stolen car. It was actually a stolen car.
I
That
didn't know that.
yeah, that car, that beat up old. I don't even remember what kind of car it was.
Yeah.
But there was this girl that I was sleeping with, and then stopped for whatever reason. I always stopped eventually,
Because
and
she
then
stole a car.
well,
Okay.
no, because that car was outside of her house, and she was talking about it, blah blah blah, and nobody's touched it in years, and blah blah blah. So I said, okay. And then after we broke up, I got the car and drove it for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, until it literally died on the side of the street, and I just walked out, and that was it. I never had any tags on it, no plates, no nothing.
Wow. I think I
Yeah.
remember that. Well, okay. So here's the thing. So yeah,
Yes.
that's like a tangent. I didn't even really
I know. I didn't.
recall.
You know. Wow.
Okay,
Well, I
so
forgot about that apartment. And once you said that apartment that we lived in, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that car that I don't know that you never were in it, and I don't know why. Why didn't I put you in that car? Well,
I
first of
think
all, we always
because
had a
we always
van.
had the
We
van.
always get a van.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always had that van
The Gray
that you had.
Ghost. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, the
We're always
Gray Ghost. That was the name of it. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
we're, and we were always it was either we were going to Pizzoli's or New Pueblos probably. So
Most likely.
but yeah, I remember no, because I was like, it's weird because it almost prepared me for the damn quarantine days because I hardly ever left your
Right?
apartment, and
Yeah.
we lived off of like pierogies and shit like
Oh,
that. Um,
pierogies. Because there was that. What was that place? I don't remember what it was called, but they always had the discount grocery stuff, the stuff that expired, and they sold it in this other store. And the pierogies,
yeah,
they always had those pierogies, and we lived off those pierogies
we
and
lived off the
blueberry, that
pierogies.
cereal. Yeah, yeah, the
Oh
pierogies
yes,
and the
yeah.
blueberry cereal. Yeah.
So, so I have to give you a lot of credit because, first of all, thank you. I'm sure I said it back then, but thank you for letting me stay with you because I would have gone nuts going to Paris before that. But
Yeah,
also, like I remember, I was just working on music every day. Like you would go
every
to
day.
class, I would work on music. I was making phone calls. I was sending out
Mm-hmm.
emails. I was networking. I was sending out CDs. I remember
Yeah.
that.
There
So
wasn't a
and
day or time that I came home and you didn't say, "Listen to this." Every day.
yeah, and
Listen
I
to this.
remember
Listen
that.
to this. Listen to this.
Well,
And I loved that because it was, new stuff being created, and it was cool to see how different everything that you were making was. It wasn't one for one specific thing. It was, oh, this could go well with this. This could go well with that, and that's proven now in what you're doing because you got your fingers in all kinds of different things that you're producing, all from
hmm
different influences. So yeah, that was cool to be there for me to remember that at the beginning of your aggressive rise to I will create music for every genre of everything, no matter what. And that was your goal, and you never stopped since. So that was
well,
cool to be there in the
I
beginning of that.
appreciate that. Well, you facilitated that. I mean, in your own way by, I don't think. Well, I mean, obviously we can't say to the contrary, but me being there, and I don't even mean this in a bad way, that I was just literally left to myself, and I needed that to focus. And I think
Yeah.
post capital T days, and I was so frustrated. I had worked on so many records, but I
Mm-hmm.
had all this experience. So I was like, this is when my thoughts started coming up of like, I'm gonna travel. I think I may have even gone to Philadelphia once while I was
I
staying
think you
in,
did once. Yeah.
and then yeah, it was like a short trip. But two things I have to bring up about that apartment. One is you. There's this. There's actually something I listen to this day that you introduced me to was the Prince Raven to the Year 2000,
2000.
and
Oh yeah.
I that version of Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm.
I have an MP3 of that to this day that
It's one of
I
the greatest
listen
things
like
ever.
if I want to listen to Purple Rain, I will listen to that version.
That
Like
version
it's
of
the
it.
best. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna go into one more. Well, maybe one more. Maybe more. There's at least one more. story about going nuts, and this one you're going to enjoy. And this one
Oh, I'm
has to
sure.
do. You already. I'm afraid to say it because you're already going to know what I'm going to say.
I know.
Has to do with the video games. You know what
Oh,
I'm talking
maybe I
about?
don't know. Maybe I don't.
Oh, you don't know. Once I say it,
Oh
you're gonna know.
God.
So
Okay.
I gave you so much shit when we were roommates. Well, you allowed me to sleep at your place about playing Pokemon.
Oh God.
I talked so much shit about it, and I was like, "What is
Yep.
it? Pokemon's stupid. What the
Oh
fuck?"
yeah.
And you're like,
Yep.
"Just try it. Just try it." I was
Just
like,
try it
"Nope, nope,
once.
nope.
Just try it
Just
once.
try it once." You start one morning before you went to class. You're like, "Just play it." You set it up. So I was like, "All right, I'll play it." I start playing it. Your ass comes home at the end of the day. I'm still playing the shit.
Still playing it.
You open the door and like collapse on the floor
Yep.
because you're like,
Yep.
fuck yeah.
I
You
remember
laughed
now.
so
I
hard.
remember that.
I mean, you're like, I
Yes.
knew it. I knew it. Fucking loved it. It was great. So thanks
Yeah.
for that. Got me hooked on
Hey,
Pokemon.
you're welcome. I introduced my kids to it. And I play Pokemon Go. We still Pokemon up in here. This is a Pokemon house. So yeah, I remember specifically. I can see it right now, walking in the door, and you just turned back, looking at me with that look on your face, and you're right. I fell to the floor. I fell to the floor laughing out because I saw the addiction in your eyes, and that it was a cross between I just got caught doing something I said I would never do, and hey, this is fun. I loved it.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. It was almost like getting caught masturbating or something. I'm like,
Right?
this is fun, but I'm gonna do this again.
But I'm gonna do it
For
again.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny now because Pokemon Go, I got hooked on that for a little bit, and what was nuts is there were all these I don't know what were those. I don't even remember what they're called now. 'Cause I haven't played it
Oh
so
wow,
long.
yeah,
All
you
those
haven't been playing
points
it for
where
a
you
while.
can those points where you can pick up things. I don't know
Pokestop.
what they were. Yeah, Pokestop. There were a lot in my
Pokestop.
neighborhood in West Midtown,
Ah.
and it was funny because this is when I knew I had a problem. So I was riding around my neighborhood, and I stopped at this Pokestop. These two random girls come over, sit down on a bench, and I look at them, and they go, "Pokemon?" I go, "No,
Yep.
no."
Yep.
They're like, "Oh
Yep.
my god, you're so old. You're like my you're like my granddad."
Jesus.
Like, I'll break out the Jordan Catalano impersonation, which I
Do
will
it.
break out. I've actually brought it out, and crazy. Hang on. Here's how worlds collide.
Okay.
I've become
Yes.
great friends with producer Steve Lillywhite, who's a legendary producer. He's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he produced 30 Seconds to Mars, but I
Oh
never got to do
no.
my Jordan Catalano for him. I was
Oh
because
dang it.
I don't know if Steve would have gotten the reference. But I was going to bring up
Probably not.
Steve earlier because you said something. You said you were making the point of like being proud or whatever,
Mhm.
and like you were kind of articulating the way that we see the world. And
Yes.
Steve was interviewed about me several years ago, and he said one thing I don't like, but then he kind of brought it around because I don't
Okay.
like when people say I'm inspirational. I think it's kind of corny and
Mm.
it's weird.
Yeah.
I feel weird about it. So Steve said something that hit me when you said it because you are the same way. He said I don't find Simon inspirational in maybe the traditional way, but it's more that he's able to take what he has and his viewpoints. He's able to make what he has work for him, which is
Mm.
inspiring. Like he adapts to these things,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
I prefer that, and I think in a weird way, I think you did that for me too because we both. I do know we see things the same way because we couldn't have been roommates. I don't think we ever
True.
we have never been mad at each other. I don't think we've ever been
No.
mad at each.
No.
I
God
can't
no.
think of a
And
time
I
we were.
and I and I gave you plenty reason to as well. Honestly, I mean, and we even
I think
bring
it's
up the
amazing.
classic. the thing that I think about constantly that makes me laugh to this day. Your Jordan Catalano was your one impression of somebody famous that was beautiful, but your second was my doing. That was the beloved phone call.
Yeah.
And that makes me so happy to this day when I think about that. And any other person that didn't see the world the way I did, or understood me at least, would why would you tolerate this man and all the shenanigans that he brought to you? Why would you tolerate this? But clearly you were very entertained by it.
It was like my immortal beloved moment.
Exactly.
It really was. Where I was like, I had to, it's like, what do you do for a good friend? You know what I mean? And I feel like we're dancing around it. Nobody's gonna know what
We're
we're talking
dancing
about.
around it.
I don't know if we can talk about it. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm perfectly fine with it. I've got
Oh,
nothing
you
to
are
hide.
fine with it.
Yeah, go
Okay, you have
ahead.
nothing to hide. Okay, well, look, people want the unadulterated
Unfiltered truth.
Unfiltered.
That's right.
That's right. They want transparency now.
That's
so
right.
here's some transparency for y'all. So, basically, so one night, this is what a true roommate and a friend does for you. Everybody out there,
True
right?
friend. True
Talking
friend.
about the '90s. It's an era of love and freedom, and whatnot. And J Maskus. And so one night, Alan had I'll put it this way. Well, everybody will figure it out. Alan had a lady friend over in his room.
Maybe.
We had separate rooms. We had
Yes.
a dope. Well, by the way, we had a dope setup in college. I
Dope.
always lived in that dorm. We basically had an apartment. So you had your own bedroom. I had mine. It was great. So Alan's in his room, engaging in relations with a girl.
Relations.
Yep.
Yes.
And there were slats in our doors, by the way, so you could hear everything. Our phone rings. We share a phone line. It's a girl that he had recently also had relations with.
Recently.
And recently, yeah. Well, it was kind of recently. And she says, is Alan there? And sorry, that's kind of what she sounded like. And I go, what? And I'm saying this because I'm trying to cover up the noise that's coming from next door.
It's coming from the other room.
And I kept going, what? Is Alan? I go, he's not right now. I mean, he's busy right now. I kept stammering, and then she breaks down. You already know the line.
Yeah.
She says, and I quote, "Keep fucking shut my whore." And I was like, what? Come on. I don't even know how. I'm trying to figure out how, like, 20-year-old, I had to be 20, 21. I don't know how I was that wise to, like, play it that way.
To play it that off,
because I'm thinking as an adult now, I'd probably do the same thing. Because you're trying to, what? Oh, come on. You're trying to be loud. Cover it up. Like, what you do? I think you're attractive. Would you ever go out with me?
What's up?
Like, you know what really pissed him off is coming over and getting it on with me.
Exactly. You should have
But weird thing was, I think if I did that, you'd probably be like, cool.
Oh, of course, yes.
That's what I'm saying to you. I know you.
That would have been beautiful. I would have cried joyfully. I mean, I would have. Oh, look at that.
But I had to keep telling her, like, will you quit playing it up? He's not mad. Like. Oh man,
that was something that always you always have my back, because bruh, you saw me. I was a lion to ladies. I was bad with it. In fact, those same two, I don't know if you remember this. I was in when the one that called had come to visit. I was in my room with her, and then the other one that I was when she called came, and then I went into the bathroom with her while she was in the bedroom, and I think she trapped herself in your room and said, "I don't want any part of this."
I remember that now. Oh my god, I'm so
Yeah, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Adventures.
Oh.
Well, to really kind of like draw the fire off of you, I do remember too that we had the adventure of our roommate getting it on with his best friend's girlfriend one
Oh,
night, and
that's
and
right.
and and you were in my room typing a paper, and I was in bed,
Yeah.
and you were like, you woke me up. You're like, yo, listen,
Yo,
listen.
check it out. Listen.
I was like, oh my, whoa. And then the next night we all had dinner together. I
Oh.
think
Yep.
we were
Yep.
trying to like, we kept looking at him like trying not to laugh.
Try not to laugh.
But yeah, okay.
Oh
Oh,
God.
so a couple more things. I like
Yes.
because by the end of this conversation, people are gonna watch it. They've been rolling, laughing, they're loving it. But then they're like, I didn't hear anything about music. Did they say anything about
Exactly.
music? This is all.
well,
Trust me,
well,
y'all.
we
This
always had
influenced
music.
me.
Yeah, we always had music playing, and that was
Oh,
the
there was.
thing. We always
Oh,
had
yeah,
music
yeah, yeah.
or what? Always, always.
Yes, yes.
Even when
And
we
maybe
were
some.
well, there were times when we were at going a little bit to the capital C, to the studio, because when you were working there, you spent your time there. You were
Oh,
there
I was like
all the
there
time.
14 hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I would come over there, because it was go to class or some chick's house, and then come over to the studio, and we would be practicing and about to play music, but then we'd be listening to other things, and we'd get totally sidetracked listening to that and breaking it down and talking about it, that we'd forget to create our own stuff until the next day or later on. So we would get I think that the influence of it was always there in every aspect of our life. So, I mean, we would listen to Jay Mascis, and Jay Mascis, most of his songs, most of Dinosaur Judah songs, was retching heartbreak. I mean, the most retching heartbreak,
That is.
feeling lonely kind of
Yeah.
music that you're ever going to listen to. Even now, his
Mm-hmm.
latest album, the latest album was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good, really good. And so we would be, clearly there were, relations going on around, but then we would the next second listen to these heartbreaking songs about loss and loneliness and relate to them together, which was an interesting thing always that I thought. So every part of music, that whether it was bringing joy or bringing, sorrow, whatever it was relating all that human element, again, from all perspectives, from all sides of perceiving the world, that we always connected with. And we would just listen to a song. Neither one of us would talk until the song was over, and we were both having this cathartic moment together, which was really,
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people don't do that, or they want to talk during music. A lot of times when I'm listening to
Hmm.
music, even now, I'm like, just don't talk to me. Like, let me get
Yeah,
into
let
it.
me
Let me
experience
go.
this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly the point. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing too. And the more I've, produced a lot of records over the years, but that's the thing is like to give someone an experience, well, no matter what that is, whether that's you want them to feel, you know, happy or torn apart or excited, whatever. Like it's a weird form of it was not a weird form. It's a form of manipulation. It's a
Mm.
form of seduction. I've read a book called Art of Seduction, which is like a Robert Greene book. Really good
Hmm.
book, by the way. I was talking to Charlie about it today, and I said I think that's why a lot of musicians and songwriters are like that because they know. I always say this: there's more than one way to touch someone, and and
Yeah.
and because when people talk about, oh, like, I mean, i- if you do it right, you can really affect people in more ways than just literally touching them. I mean, you can do that, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's all these other ways that whether something makes you feel angry or happy or sad or whatever, or even if it sparks something in you, whether it's something political or social.
Hmm.
'Cause by the way, that's one thing I really liked about the music we made, at least with Gray Matter and the stuff you and I were into. Because like we both like the same kind of things, but I also think we like music that has a message,
A
and
message. Oh yeah,
I don't mean that in a
message.
corny way. Like I hate when
No.
like it doesn't have to be cheesy. like it can be a poetic thing where you're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, like that's really heavy, or I get that, or and it can be trivial as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember
Yeah,
you
of
listened to
course.
a lot of, was that band Cake? Was it Cake?
Cake, yeah, cake.
You
Which
listened to a lot of Cake, yeah.
I liked. I like throwing cake and listening to cake.
I listen
Um,
to Cake.
well,
Yeah,
I liked a lot of their stuff because it was that free form, jazzy improv thing, but always touched on the universal um, things that people feel universally. Usually it's about love or heartbreak and loss and things like that. But it was something that I think a lot of different people can relate to on those different levels. And I really liked Cake, Propagandae. You remember that? I mean, I
propaganda.
love me
Yeah,
some
yeah,
Propagandae. I loved that band so much, and they were the complete opposite with the real political messaging, but things that a lot of people could relate to, and through poetry and the poetry of lyrics. That's why I've always
yeah.
loved all the hip hop that we listened to was always lyricist stuff. It was Rakim, it was Chuck D, it was what's his
EPMD,
name, EPMD, Chino XL, all
Cheeto,
those,
yeah,
yeah, all those
Nas.
different Nas, all those different the Ghetto Boys. At least let's not forget our love for Bushwick Bill. Rest in peace.
Damn, yes. God
Um,
damn, yeah.
but it was always lyricist. It wasn't just the beat stuff that came. I think this lately, a lot of this stuff is, I'm just not lyrically, I'm not into it at all. Because we were brought up with the more lyricist,
Yeah,
KRS and all those guys. That was about the lyrics and the flow of the actual poetry and the messaging, and not again cheesy messaging. This song has a message, but the messaging of universal, how music affects us and how the world affects us universally, and how to convey that through lyrics and
yes.
through music. Exactly. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's conveying a universal experience. And even if it's like, I think good art and good artists
Mm-hmm.
are people who are able to, even if you haven't exactly felt something like that, you get an idea of what it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You're able to
Oh yeah,
take
that makes
people
sense.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Take on that
one thing
journey.
yeah, one thing I wrote about, and it's gonna come up again in another conversation with Charlie, but I wrote a song that Charlie covered. How crazy is that?
Ooh, what?
And
Okay,
it's
real quick. Talking about a person who understands music and the power of songwriting, Charlie. That song about his grandma still puts me on the ground. I love that song so much. I love a lot of those first couple albums that he. Oh my
mhm,
God, the power of and the. I always loved raw singers, and I think we both always loved raw musicians. And he is so raw and so real and so honest. Man, I love
yeah,
me some Charlie. I'm glad you still are keeping in touch with him and still
yeah.
talking to him, because
We're
I would
about
love to
to
hear that, because I don't think I've ever heard his version of your song. I don't think I've ever heard it,
we're gonna
which makes me feel ashamed of myself.
I mean, I'll send it. I can send it to you tonight. Do you use Apple
Please,
Music or Spotify? Either one.
Spotify.
No.
Yeah, Spotify.
Okay.
I'm off the Apple plantation. Sorry.
Well, okay. Well, more for me. Um.
That's right. More for you.
So. So yeah. It's something I've always pursued. Like, I mean, I have produced like trivial type shit, which is fun too. But a lot of times I do seek substance. I think there's something better in that.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
know, and all that. So you know, to kind of draw this to a close, because this is kind of when I left the Midwest. I wrote even in my first book that of course, you and I were roommates, and then I moved back to Illinois, which sucked ass. Um,
mm-hmm.
I had no choice, but I think I
Yeah.
was only there 3 months.
Yeah, you
But
weren't there long before you headed out.
right, and I wrote, and when I was writing in the book, and I was telling a friend of mine this story because I wanted to kind of know the more detailed thing about it, and it's actually a friend of mine named Jake Cooper. He's
Mm.
a guy in a wheelchair. He's an artist, like a painter, and He's a
Painter.
brilliant, brilliant young guy. And we were talking about, you know, just I don't know, I guess like living independently and things like that. And I told him this story where I said it's very cliche, but I had the one way ticket that I could get to Philadelphia, but not back. And I think what it
Mm-hmm.
was is I was so fed up with everything, and I was so scared. I think I was more scared of being there. I was like, it's like I saw my future in all these other people around me, and I was like, if I stay here, it's gonna be really bad. Like, I'm going to be miserable, and I don't know if I can live with myself if I let that happen. So I think, when people say, oh, and I know you said it, Pat said it, he wasn't scared when he moved to Philly. I was scared as shit, but I was more scared of staying where I
Of
was
staying.
because that
Yeah.
was a longer term. Like you're here forever. Like
Mm-hmm.
with your grandparents and everybody that's, and I mean, it sounds harsh. Nobody was doing shit. Like if
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
miserable around you and telling you don't do this, I didn't want to listen to that because I'm like,
Yeah.
you're miserable. Why would I listen to you? So, and then,
Yeah.
by the way, it was probably one of the best kept secrets that I ever had in my life was that I was going to the East Coast with no way to come home. You
Yeah.
were the first person. The fact that I had to keep it a secret until you left that train station.
Yeah.
I nobody knew because my fear was because my family, at
Mm-hmm.
least my grandparents, they would have found any way to keep my ass from getting
Yeah.
to Indianapolis to getting on that train. So I was so
Yeah.
scared that I just played it off and just kind of lied my ass off. Like, oh, I'll be back in a couple of days, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And I did that. You were literally, and the fact that you remembered what I said, and I think when I said it, I don't know if it was like trying to be in a movie or whatever, you know. It
Maybe.
really was. I do literally remember you saying I'll see you in a week, and I said I don't think so this time,
I don't think so.
or something.
I don't think that was
Yeah,
the time.
it was nuts, and I remember saying it, and then getting on the train in the middle of the night. Like I think I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, "What the fuck am I doing?" Like when I was
Doing.
on the train. But then, but then
Ah.
it was weird though because that feeling just kind of subsided, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I mean, it'll be all right," and I figured it out. So, um, yeah, it was interesting. So even though it's like it really seems like a lot longer, that's really weird that you and I were only around each other really like 5 or 6 years.
For about 6 years. Yeah. I mean, it feels
And it
like
seems like
we
a lot
grew up
longer.
together from day one. But yeah, but that's 6. Well, I think because that 6 years was so impactful. Um,
Yeah.
it was in the middle of the college time for both of us, where we learned a lot about you learn a lot about yourself. We're both living on our own. We're both
Yeah.
and we're both people that, even though we're scared crapless a lot of the times and we don't show it,
Yes.
we're always, hey, we got to make something happen. We're not going to sit around and do nothing. We're going to make something happen. Even when we were sitting around and doing nothing, we were making things happen. We were projecting into the future of what this is going to happen. We were making plans, and we always executed and make sure we did. Which is one of the. That's why I remember specifically. I can visualize it now at that train station, and when you said, "No, I'm not this time. I don't think so this time," and I went. I didn't get all teary-eyed or, oh my god, shocked. I wasn't shocked. I was, oh yeah, because you're gonna go make stuff happen, and you did, and that was it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
had no fear for you
Right.
because that's just not who you are. You're not gonna, even if you failed, and even if you did have to come back, called me a week later and said, Alan, I'm coming back. It wouldn't have been because you failed. It was because situation didn't allow it this time. But in another month, you would have done it again. You wouldn't have been stopped. You would not have been stopped. So I
Right.
never had a fear that you would be stuck in a place that you didn't want to be, because that's not who you are. So once you went out there, and I didn't talk to you for a while after, a long while. I went, but I never thought he's fine. He's good. He's doing what he's got to do. Sleeping outside of places, hanging out at places, waiting for somebody to come down some stairs, doing whatever it is. You're going to sit there and you're going to make it happen. And you did. And, the rest is quote unquote history. So I've always, using the word inspiration, I've always been inspired by your, I'm going to do this. That's the attitude. It's the attitude of, I'm going to do this. And I got nothing to prove to anybody. I'm just going to do it because I'm going to do this for me and what I'm going to do. So that's always been a beautiful thing, and why I think that even, we haven't talked to each other in damn near a year or more, and it's just like nothing, has passed. And we got so much to tell each other, but it feels like nothing has passed because, we had that connection, that strong connection in those formative years, I guess, of that 6 years where we discovered a lot about ourselves and each other. And it's just a beautiful thing to see you so successful. And I've always been, well, yeah, of course he's going to be successful. That's who he is. He's not going to quit. He's not going to fail because that's who he is.
I
beautiful man.
Beautiful, young looking man.
Beautiful, young man.
It's all that water I drink.
That's right. Stay hydrated.
I probably got that
Keeps
from
the
you too. Well, no, it doesn't, because you drank more water than anybody I know in college. God dang. You always had a bottle of water.
I always had a bottle of water because that New York, the dancers would always carry those. Remember, I always had the gallon jugs of water, and I was doing that way before anybody else. And then carrying around sometimes 2 of those damn things because I just, gotta drink water, bro. Gotta drink water.
I'm gonna stay hydrated. I'm not hanging up, but I'm gonna stop the recording because I know
got you.
So this way we can we can start really
freely.
fucking dirty.